Hello world, it's been ages since I made a video, so I thought I'd better make one. Right, you might have to forgive me having a few slurps of tea during this one. It's snowing and I can't go out to play. But yeah, we're nice and warm in here. And yeah, just have a little chit chat with me about a few things. So these are just various different things that I've been thinking music-wise, because people like my music videos. They're not so keen on the other ones, but I still like putting the other ones up. But yeah, here's a music one for all you music fanatics out there. I might even talk about HiFi just a little bit as well. Okay, so here is Paul McCartney's Pure compilation album. I bought this recently. It's billed as a kind of ultimate Paul McCartney compilation that he put together himself. How true that is, I don't know, but it could be true. It's a 4-album set. I'll talk about what you get with it in a moment, but in terms of tracks, we've got, I think, something like 40 tracks on here. We've got 6, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Exactly 40 Paul McCartney tracks. How's that? Okay, and it's kind of billed as the kind of thing that you would put on a party or a long drive or something like that. Well, the thing is, if I was at a party, I think it would have to be an oldies kind of party to put on 40 Paul McCartney songs. And yeah, I think, although I've lost mine, I think, somehow, but I think you do get a download code in here. So if you want to download it and chuck it on an iPod or something like that, it could work as a party. Just don't invite your young and trendy friends. In terms of the order of the tracks, now they come from a variety of different eras in the Paul McCartney phase. Now, I'm not a great big expert on Paul McCartney's solo material. I happen to think that there were roughly 2 periods of Paul McCartney which are absolutely essential, and those are from 1973 up until 1976. So that would include Band on the Run, Venus and Mars, and Wings at the Speed of Sound. Those 3 albums from Paul McCartney are absolutely quintessential to get, and to kind of complete the essential Paul McCartney from that early era, you need the Wings Over America 3-album live set, okay, and that will give you some of the early singles and some of the best tracks that he did from the very, very early 70s post-Beatles era, because there were a few Paul McCartney albums that essentially, apart from the odd track like My Love and Maybe I'm Amazed, were absolutely dire, and you really don't want them. And then again, at the end of the 70s, some of the albums like London Town and Back to the Egg are arguably, I know there'll be people who like them, but arguably they're slightly ropey. I mean, I've got London Town. I think I've only ever played it once, and I just thought, this really is not very good. And then after that, you had the McCartney 2 solo album, which was, yeah, really not. And then we had the absolutely, in my opinion, perfect 2 albums from Paul McCartney, which were Tug of War and Pipes of Peace, which I think most of which were made in the same set of recording sessions. And Ringo Starr plays on them, and Steve Gadd, and Stevie Wonder, and Michael Jackson. And it was just a great time to be a Paul McCartney and Beatles fan, because, you know, it really, really good music. And then kind of it all went a little bit dry throughout the 80s and for me the 90s as well with Paul McCartney stuff. There's, apart from the odd thing like the frog chorus, which was slightly post Pipes of Peace, and just a few things that were okay. But then it kind of all went dry for me until I heard 2005's album Chaos and Creation in the Backyard, which for me really is absolutely perfect late era Paul McCartney. It really gets to you, that album does, or it certainly gets to me. It's one of those that puts a lump in my throat. I can't listen to it too often. Okay, now in terms of compilation albums, there have been loads and loads of Paul McCartney compilation albums, loads of live albums, and greatest hits albums, including All the Best from 1987, which was a pretty good one. But in general, I don't like compilation albums. I much prefer to hear the music in its context at the time that it was released, with all the other tracks as well, because I think that when people put together albums, they do things like checking things like the pace of the song, the key of the song, and whether or not the subject matter of this song is right for the subject matter of the next song. The mastering tends to be very uniform. When you do a compilation album, the songs have to be remastered, so that you don't get one song sounding hopelessly out of date 1970s production and the next one sounding fabulously 2018, and also that one's not hugely louder or hugely trebly than the next one, and so on and so forth. So they all need a little bit of jiggery pokery in order to get them to sound quite uniform, and for me it takes away from the actual music itself. That said, this is actually pretty good. You don't get huge jumps from really loudness ward memory almost full tracks. There are the odd few memory almost full tracks on here, and that was an album, and I thought Chaos and Creation was quite good. Let's Buy Memory Almost Full. I think at that time he'd split with EMI Records, and he was on some independent thing that was owned by Starbucks, I believe. And yeah, it didn't kind of have the niceness about it that Chaos and Creation had. Chaos and Creation was a lovely sounding album, whereas Memory Almost Full sounded brash, loudness ward, and I just really, I put it on once and thought, ooh, and then forgot about it. I think I've still got it somewhere. I might play it one day. But, for me, as I say, the perfect McCartney eras are the early to mid 70s, and then the odd couple of albums from the 80s, and Chaos and Creation in the Backyard. And if you've got those 6 or 7 albums, then you have got a brilliant McCartney set, and I don't really think you need any more than that. Who needs any more? All right, but this is a good compilation anyway, it really is, and it does fill in some of the better tracks, I think, from the later period as well. Flowers in the Dirt as an album has been slightly skipped over, but we had a remaster of that not so long ago anyway. There are a couple of 2015 remixes. Say and Ebony and Ivory were subjected to those remixes, and good on Paul McCartney for being open-minded enough to include them. I don't quite know why they were remixed, because in terms of what they sound like, they could still have been released in the early 80s as 2015 remixes and be perfectly of their time. I don't really see huge amounts of difference. This whole thing does sound rather good. And yeah, he's put in a few oddball songs that that aren't quite as obvious from his output. Songs like Dear Boy, which don't believe was ever a single or anything like that. So there will be songs on here that you don't know, which is always good, I think. You don't want to just there is a saying in the music industry called SOS, which is same old shit, which means that when they're running out of money, they need to make a quick cash in. They find someone who's really famous, like Elvis Presley or Paul McCartney or someone like that, and just chuck out the same old crap that they've been rehashing for years and years and years, just to try and make some extra money. And it kind of, for old cynics like me, it's just a little bit too cynical, I suppose. Okay, so this is the Pure album. Let me just quickly show you what you get in here. You do get a booklet. I'll try and get it out. Matron. Matron. Alright, there it is. Sliding it out. Okay, so essentially it's this jobby here. Little introduction, as I say, that says put this on at a party or when you're driving. And then you've got some photographs, a little bit like that. It's mainly just photographs, actually. At the back, little bit of information about the albums that the tracks have been lifted from and what not. Okay, so if you are, I would suggest probably mainly younger, and you like Paul McCartney and you like the Beatles, and you need a good introduction to his solo material, this is it. If you just want a Paul McCartney playlist, I bet you if I said to Siri, hey Siri, make me a Paul McCartney playlist, you can hear it trying to do it.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Yeah, because it's not listening to me properly. But I bet you if you said that when Siri was listening to you, I bet you it would put you a Paul McCartney playlist together. And, unless you're like a real vinyl aficionado or something like that, it's probably not hugely worth getting this because you could put one together yourself. The albums themselves, I'll show you one of them. The albums themselves are a bit like this. You've got a photograph on the front, black and white, full size, looking really nice. You've got the track listing on the back. You have just plain white, anti-static, well done, EMI or whoever it is that's put this together, anti-static sleeves. And you've also, for some inexplicable reason, got plain gold ones as well, which just seems to me to be a waste of paper. But yeah, it's a reasonably, for vinyl, it's a reasonably value for money box set. I will show you something, I don't know if you can see, that there are a couple of albums here that have got very, just where my finger is there, very kind of scuffed. And I promise you that this has only been delivered to me in the last couple of weeks. And I've only played the whole set once. And I didn't do that. So that's not particularly good. But in terms of its overall value for money, considering that it's a vinyl and that you could go to HMV and easily spend £20 on a single release by somebody, the 50 odd pounds that you pay for this make it a kind of good value box set, as it were. And so, yeah, it's good, but it ain't that good, okay? The music's fabulous, but just, if you're not into vinyl and you just want some good Paul McCartney music, get Siri to make you a playlist, okay? Dee! Now, a very quick concert review, which is going to, I suppose, be also a kind of how have I been getting on with my PMC speakers and Elicit-R amplifier, which were the latest additions to my HiFi setup. Now, a couple of days ago, I went to see Conchita Wurst. Now, this is the concert that's been heavily advertised on Radio 2 that is going to be broadcast, I think it's on the 18th of March, as Friday night is music night. Stupid me expected it to actually be on a Friday, but no, it wasn't. It was on a Sunday, and it was at the London Palladium, and it was Conchita Wurst. Conchita Wurst, who won the Eurovision Song Contest. Was it 2013 or 2014, something like that, with Rise Like a Phoenix. And I have loved Conchita ever since then. I do play her album quite regularly. Now, I say to people, try not to download too much, because you'll forget that you've ever got it on your computer. But this is one that, for the last several years now, I have not forgotten that I've got on my computer. It really is a very, very good modern album. It's not the best recorded. You can hear where vocals are nearly kind of going into distortion, because Conchita's got quite a big dynamic range. It could be better. It just doesn't sound like there's a lot of headroom, a lot of dynamic headroom going on in there. And there's a bonus "You Are Unstoppable" remix at the end of it, which really ought not to be there, because you can just hear the compressors coming in and out and in and out and in and out. But anyway, it's a good album, it's a good listen, and I do like it. I do love Conchita. So when I got a text message from my friend Amy saying, "Oh, you might be interested in this," and it was the details of this concert, I rang up my friend Leon and said, "Do you want to come and see Conchita?" And we arranged, yes, we would. And it was going to be my birthday present to him, because it's his birthday in about a month's time. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come with me. God, I have to buy my friendships, people. But yeah, so it was his birthday present anyway. And we had a great time. And, the London Palladium is a lovely venue, very, very convenient to Oxford Circus Station. Nice place. You can easily get drinks at the bars and stuff like that. And you just feel, it's lovely to be at the theatre, isn't it? Conchita herself was very, very good indeed. The material that she chose was essentially favourite kind of torch ballads and stuff like that. There was a little mix of some of the songs from her album thrown in. Obviously, we had Rise Like a Phoenix, we had You Are Unstoppable and Firestorm, and absolutely great tracks. And for me though, the standout performances from Conchita were a version of Get Here by Alita Adams, which was breathtakingly good, and also Paul McCartney's Purple Rain. And in terms of the musicians that were on stage with him, we had a full sort of 70 or 80 piece kind of the BBC concert orchestra there, and we had Conchita's rhythm section from his on-stage touring band there as well. And obviously Conchita's guitarist has got the Purple Rain solo right down to an absolute T. It was amazing, and we were just gobsmacked. And rather than Rise Like a Phoenix and stuff like that, which, yes, you're going to give him a huge round of applause for, but it was Purple Rain, to me, that got the ovation, and it did get the ovation. We were all standing up and cheering and cheering and cheering and cheering, and it was great, okay? Some of the not so great bits about it, there was a young lady that was sitting next to the pair of us who told us before the concert started that she had met Conchita and that she was a musician and stuff like that, and then she started singing and poor Leon was right next to her, and he got the full brunt of it. And yeah, she could not sing a note, and it was painfully obvious. And you think, hold on, these tickets have cost X number of pounds. I've paid to see Conchita. I haven't paid to hear you. Oops, hold on. Yeah, that's better. I'm talking too much. Yeah, and then behind me there were just people just being idiots and just chatting through the songs and stuff like that, which I always find really, really just disrespectful, really. If you put an album on at home, you kind of expect that you're going to sit and do the ironing, someone's going to walk in, you're going to have a chat with them, and you're going to potter around, there's going to be extra noises and stuff like that. But this is the iPod era, isn't it? You know, and whatnot. You know, just people just wandering around with headphones on all the time and not really paying any attention to what they're listening to. You know, if you're going to a concert and you're paying money, then sit and listen to them, hear them out, for goodness sake, you know. But yeah, you know, it wasn't the worst concert that I've been to in that respect. It would be about 10 years ago now. 10 years ago, I went to see Ray LaMontagne in concert, and people were, you know, up and down, going to the bar, getting drinks, getting bladdered, needing the toilet, getting up, everyone having to move so that they could get past you and everything to go to the toilet, going in and out and in and out, as if it was like some sort of, I don't know, market or something like that. And it really, you know, it just doesn't show respect. So the next time you get concert tickets, people, go, make sure you've been to the toilet, and then sit and listen and enjoy the music, okay? And, you know, try not to spoil other people's enjoyment of it. You know, I've honestly seen better, more respect for an inanimate film at the cinema, you know, that can't sort of, you know, be offended by people chatting than, you know, so, yeah. Right, so in terms of the sound quality at that concert, I was really reminded actually of my PMC speakers, because not too far in, I was thinking, God, this orchestra is so smooth, it's so velvety, those strings come out, you're getting the full treble whack of them, but they're not hurting your ears. You know, trumpets and brass sounds can rasp away, and it's smooth. And, you know, for a venue of that size, and for an orchestra and rhythm section of that many musicians, it was very loud. It didn't sound loud because of the size of the venue, okay? You know, when you put an album on at home, what you're hearing is but an illusion, okay? The illusion is the BBC Concert Orchestra, Conchita, the rhythm section from the orchestra, from the touring band or whatever, you know, playing at full pelt, when actually it isn't. If you got the real musicians into your lounge, you will want to get them out again pretty quickly, because they'd make a right racket. You know, it would be extremely loud. But the sound engineers had done a fantastic job. And it also reminds me really of just how accurate these PMC speakers, together with the Elicit-R amp, because, you know, both of them will have, you know, their own influences on the sound, but together that combination is so accurate. It won't have you sitting on the edge of your seat with thrills and anticipation, like, you know, perhaps some of the other setups I've had in the past. I'm thinking, you know, really and truthfully, I'm thinking of the Riga Luna amp that I have from the 90s, which did have you on the edge of your pants with anticipation, but it was also, you know, there were certain albums, quite a lot of albums, especially CDs, that you just wouldn't want to play on it. Whereas, you know, this is even-handed with a whole lot of them. And if anything, you know, this is 105 watts per channel in my tiny, tiny lounge, but it begs you all the time, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up. And, you know, it is just amazing. And this is, you know, it's just kind of, I can't say anything sort of too intellectual about them or anything like that. They are just the most civilized music partners that you could have. Okay, so, you know, if anyone is on the lookout, and I had a question about amps recently on another video, and someone was saying, you know, should I get an R-Cam or should I get an Elicit-R? And, you know, my gut reaction really is save up for the Elicit-R. It obviously depends on your speakers. Once upon a time, I would have said don't bother with the Elicit-R, but that was because I was using speakers that didn't quite justify the expense on the amplifier. And in terms of in terms of the sound quality, because the speakers were not low quality, the Riga R3s could never have ever been said to be low quality. They're fantastic speakers. But you are going to have compromises. And for a speaker that delivers, for an amplifier like the Elicit-R, which delivers such good bass response, the R3s couldn't cope with it. The RS5s, on the other hand, which were in my system for a long time, sitting over there and there, they made a far better fist of things. They were still a tad on the uncouth side, a little less revealing, but these PMCs, which are, you know, expensive speakers, people, expensive speakers, expect to pay as much as you would for a top of the range normal iMac, not an iMac Pro, but, you know, a normal iMac, you know, the one with 4.2 gigahertz processor and stuff like that. Expect to pay at least as much as one of those for a pair of these speakers, but also it's furniture in your lounge, and you know, it looks nice even when you're not listening to them. And I use my HiFi every single day for something, even if it's only just watching something on, you know, the iPlayer or something like that, and it does sound wonderful. Okay, it really does sound wonderful. So there's, you know, a little bit of a catch up on my R3s. The only other thing that has just popped into my head to do, I hadn't intended to do this, so I'm looking around here if I can find them. Yep, here they are. Sorry, I just want to lean forward. Yeah, get in my belly. These are the Bowers & Wilkins or B&W P7 headphones. Okay, I've had these for quite a while now, and some of you may have watched a video in which I moaned about the fact that I didn't get the right pair of headphones when I bought them, and I had to take it back to John Lewis. John Lewis made me feel like I was sitting in a police station. It took me 3/4 of an hour to convince them. You know, I had the wait, you know, while they dealt with other customers and treated them, as I say, as disbelievingly and as badly as me. And then I had 3/4 of an hour of sitting there, you know, trying to explain. And, you know, I almost felt like writing out a police statement and giving my fingerprints off as well. You know, it was truly atrocious treatment by John Lewis, it has to be said. But in the end, I did get the correct pair of headphones. Okay, these are the wireless versions. Okay, they sound good. I'm not going to say they sound utterly amazing. If you've only ever been used to Apple AirPods and you know, the sort of cheapy things that come with your mobile phones and whatnot, then you will say you'll put these on and you will find them an absolute revelation. You know, they are extremely good. Okay, but as I say, they're not going to set the world on fire with their sound quality. I don't wander around with headphones on in the street. You know, in fact, to be honest, I very rarely use them apart from doing music with, but I'll come on to that in a minute. So I can't really say, you know, too much about their sound cancelling out of sort of external sounds. I would imagine that because they're kind of round the ear, yes, they do cancel out sound, because my voice has now gone all like it's in a tunnel. So yes, they do cancel out, you know, exterior sound to a degree, but whether or not they would, you know, when you're playing music and stuff like that, and what that would sound like, I don't really know. I principally bought these as a wireless pair of headphones to try and get rid of some of the cabling that I have around here, so that when I do my music and stuff, I'm not just being bombarded with cables. And I have tried to do some vocals with these. It's taken me a little while, but there was one you know, absolute occasion that happened. These things were running out of charge, so I was using them to record vocals with. I put them on the USB charger, which means that they should still carry on working whilst they're charging up, and I should be able to use these to help me record some vocals with. And what happened, people? They started lagging. So that I was getting the rhythm, as it were, and the timing from my iMac playing my backing track into these cans a fair bit later than it was actually playing, so that I was singing to something that was in time with my headphones. When I played it back, it was not in time at all. Okay, and that's bizarre. So I let them charge up fully, came back to my song, which I still really need to finish. A couple of days later, I've got a good song on the boil, folks. I think you'll quite like it when you hear it. And I came back and I put these on again, and I realised that even though, yeah, these are fully charged headphones, and even though the rhythm is kind of in time, there is still an nth of a second delay between the wireless working and getting the sound to your headphones, and then you recording, getting that sound back into the iMac. Whether or not this is just because of these particular B&W things, or whether or not that's a wireless problem in general, I have gone back to my trusty Beyerdynamic DT440s. These were in a sale on headphones.co.uk. Sorry, I've just dropped those. Many years ago. I've had these now for 10 years or so. They are just beautiful. They really are a wonderful set of headphones. Beyerdynamic are probably the most underrated of headphone manufacturers that ever exists. But, you know, they're brilliant. They're airy, they're spacious, they're everything, in fact, that the P7s are not. Okay, the P7s make a big deal of the fact that they do bass, they make a big deal of the fact that they do treble, so what you're getting is kind of, you know, a little bit boom tizzy. Not a particularly even sound, quite a closed in sound. Put these on and the sound is really spacious. Okay, so it's one it's one reason really why wireless headphone technology should not be, you know, the bath water, or the I don't know, what is it? Chucking out the baby with the bath water, put it that way. So in other words, you know, do not lose sight of the fact that yes, this is, you know, old technology, the 3.5mm headphone jack that's been around since about 1464 and the signing of the Magna Carta or something like that. Yeah, it's old technology. It works. It does the job. Okay, and you can get nice cheap headphones, because these were about 80 quid, you know, Yes, it was 10 years or so ago, so multiply that by, I suppose you could probably multiply it by about 2, but certainly for under 200 quid you can get yourself a really good pair of headphones that are accurate, light, airy, spacious, and that actually work for doing more professional things. Okay, I think that a lot of people who are trying to record music using wireless headphone technology, it'd be interesting to see whether or not any studios of any note have actually adopted wireless headphones. I might talk to Ashley about that, because he is a musician and visits recording studios and stuff, and it'd be interesting to see how well or not they have adopted to or adapted to wireless technology. Okay, so that is 35 minutes of me prattling on, peoples. It's good to see you all again. I'll try and not leave it so long for my next video, but it probably won't be a music one. But have an open mind. Have an open mind. I'm a good person to listen to, and I do hope that you've enjoyed this little half an hour or so with me. All right, see you soon. Please subscribe, rate, comment, share, like. Bye. How do I turn this damn thing off? Oh, there's the button.